Hi, welcome back. Great to be with you again. I want to do something a little different in this video, and that is to look at a particular encounter that Jesus had in the temple and see what we can learn from it. It's the story of the widow's offering, which you can find in Mark chapter 12, verses 38 to 44. It takes place when Jesus was in the temple. Let me read a few verses of that to you. I'm going to read verses 41 to 44. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a fraction of a penny. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "I tell you the truth. This poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." This story causes us to consider how we can be true to who we are. We often try to present an image that other people see, but in reality, that's not who we really are. Sometimes we try very hard to make ourselves look good by speaking and acting in a certain way in public, but it's not who we are in private. I spent a long time trying to be someone I wasn't. I wanted to be the quiet person who stayed at the back and didn't get noticed. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being that person, but it wasn't how God made me. If I found myself in a new situation with a group of people, I would try my best to stay in the background, but it never lasted very long. You see, God made me with an outgoing personality, and that's who I am. There was no point in trying to hide it. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. I didn't like who I was, and there was the bigger problem. Until I worked that one through with God and became comfortable with the way that He made me, I wanted to be different, and I tried to hide who I really was. Jesus didn't have much time for hypocrisy. We see this time and time again in the Gospels. Religious leaders saying one thing, but doing something entirely different. Shows of piety and religiousness didn't impress Jesus. He saw behind outward appearances right into people's hearts. Doing things for show doesn't impress him. We see this in the story of this widow. Jesus warns the people against behaving like the scribes, lording it over everyone because of their position, demanding respect and the best seats in the synagogue and banquets, reciting long prayers, but behind it all, they were treating the weaker members of society unfairly. Jesus draws our attention to the poor widow, who, as rich people were making their offerings, she quietly gave everything she had. The rich were giving out of their abundance, maybe even their leftovers, but she was giving everything out of her poverty. The contrast in the text between the self-serving scribes and the widow couldn't be any greater, and Mark weaves these stories together to show us this contrast. As we go through the Gospels, we see many examples of faith, examples to follow, and also examples to avoid. Jesus presents the scribes as all about themselves. They want to be seen. They want to be noticed and congratulated. They wanted to be well thought of. Totally self-absorbed. Then we see the widow, acting completely selflessly. She doesn't give what's left over. She gives all she had from the depths of her being. Her giving is sacrificial and completely selfless. This is the kind of faith that we should have. You see, following Jesus isn't about us. It's about what we give to God. And He gives amazing riches in return. Jesus uses this widow as an example, but He Himself is an example to us. He was completely selfless. He let us see him exactly as he was, and he went to the cross for us, the ultimate selfless act. Giving financially in our tithes and our offerings is, of course, something we should do generously and sacrificially. But this story is also about us being true to who we are. It's about how we live, not portraying a persona for all to see on the outside and struggling on the inside. Jesus wants us to be real with each other and to be as he made us, not pretending to have it all together in public when we're struggling in private. He wants us to be honest with ourselves, not living a life of double standards. When Jesse brought his sons before Samuel to anoint as Saul's successor, several seemed to be perfect for the job. But we read in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, the Lord said to Samuel, "Don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him." The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This is what Jesus did when he saw the widow. He saw her heart and the attitude behind her giving. God sees our heart. Learning to be myself made a huge difference in my life as I allowed God to walk with me and guide me in seeing myself as he sees me. The story of the widow's offering is about truth, being true to who we are, rather than presenting an image of ourselves that we think makes us look good. The scribes weren't being honest about who they are, but the widow isn't ashamed to let people see her for who she is. Do I think too much about what others think of me? Do I let this influence my behaviour? I didn't like who I was, but pretending to be someone else wasn't the answer. Being true to myself before God and seeing myself as the person he made me was what changed me and allowed me become comfortable with the extrovert that I am. I wonder, is there something that you might be hiding today? Do you try to hide the real you from others? This could be in how you act towards others, but it could also be something in your life that you're really struggling with, that you don't want to let others see. Let this story speak to you and be honest with yourself and God. You see, God knows. He sees the heart. We can try and hide who we are from other people, but we can never hide from God. Is God asking you to be generous with your time or your resources, but you're afraid that you won't have enough left for yourself? Well, from my experience, in giving of yourself to others, in being honest and generous with what you have, will give you much more satisfaction than holding back. I'm not just talking about financial giving, I'm talking about giving of our time and energy as well. I would encourage you to think of someone you can reach out to and take action. Maybe that's the Holy Spirit prompting you. If what you're struggling with is a thought pattern or a behaviour pattern that you can't get away from, can I suggest that you bring it to God, but also talk to someone that you trust about it. Speaking to someone else can break the power of negative thoughts and behaviour patterns. I'm going to do a follow-up video to this talk, and in the second part, which will be following soon, I'm going to give you practical steps you can take in being who God has made you to be. I pray that God will show you where he wants you to be true to what he has put on your heart, and to enable you and me to be the true and honest version of who he has made us to be. I hope this has helped you in some way. Before you go, maybe you'd click on the subscribe button on the bottom right of the screen. That will help us in promoting these videos and will keep you informed of other videos coming up in the future. Thanks. See you again soon.